Duke Loves Wrestling presents.
Look at what we have here, folks.
The Rundown.
The cream of the crop, and there is no one that does it better than
The Duke.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. What a week in professional wrestling it has been. And your man Duke Loves Wrestling is here with the Rundown podcast to cover it all. That's right. Folks, in this edition, I'm going to get into my not-so-random thoughts. Then we're going to transition into the WWE recap. That's right. It's no longer called the Raw recap because we're not just talking Raw during that segment. We're going to cover all of WWE. After that, we'll wrap up the show. So, folks, let's just jump right into my not-so-random thoughts. TNA Impact finally bounced back after a rough week last week. As I stated on last week's Rundown podcast, they had Slammiversary, and then they tried to have a live edition of their Impact Wrestling television show. Between Pop TV and TNA Impact, they were not able to get their feed together. Okay, they were trying to go live here, folks. They were trying to broadcast a live show, and they just couldn't get it together. We were subjected to 152 minutes of continuous That 70 Shows commercial. I swear, like I told you before, folks, if I never see That 70 Show again, I will not be upset about it. But that was last week. They finally got their act together this week, and TNA was able to deliver an Impact Wrestling show that wasn't too bad. For me, the highlight of the night was former TNA Knockouts champion Jade. She took on one of my favorites, Marty Bell. These ladies are former tag team partners with each other. They have split up. Marty Bell is upset with Jade because when she won the championship, she said she turned her back on her. So we're talking about significant conflict between these two ladies. So they had a grudge match with each other, and it was great. It was really exciting. It was in the ring. It was outside of the ring. There was a foreign object used. In the end, Marty Bell was able to secure the win. And this is only the beginning of this fantastic feud by two solid workers in the business. That's what we need to see more of from TNA. We need to see folks who are featured, who really care about the sport of professional wrestling, and who are going to go out there and give it their all, okay? Some of these other things that they're doing, I really don't understand. I don't understand the Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy nonsense going on. It's kind of weird, especially the poor acting by Matt Hardy. It's so bad that some people say it's good. You figure it out, folks. Nonetheless, though, we are pulling for TNA. We want to see them succeed. In order to do so, they really have to continue to focus on their Knockouts division, which is what they refer to in relation to their female wrestlers. Their Knockouts division is solid, man, and especially now that it's headed up by Sienna, a.k.a. Allison Kay, on the independent wrestling scene. Sienna, she's a fantastic champion. She's one of my favorite workers, not named Sasha Banks, in the world of professional wrestling right now. So TNA really has a chance to make a difference as long as they continue to build around their Knockouts and also their X division, which is their smaller wrestlers who do a lot of the flippity moves all over the place. We can have a little bit of excitement on the card of that stuff, but give us the solid storylines and the solid wrestling, which is really something that the ladies, the Knockouts, are delivering right now. So keep that up. Moving on across the pond here into Japan. Now, folks, I covered Will Ospreay. He is the guy that took on Ricochet, and they had that amazing display of athleticism. They had that match that everyone was talking about all over the place. It was on the news. It was on ESPN. It was everywhere, okay? Will Ospreay ended up winning that tournament that New Japan Pro Wrestling had put on for all the best juniors in the world, whatever. Ospreay has now started using the legendary Big Van Vader. He started using his moves in matches and having his opponents kick out of the moves as a sign of disrespect to the legend Big Van Vader. Now, folks, listen. Big Van Vader went on Twitter and made some comments about the Will Ospreay Ricochet match. pointing out that these guys worked hard and they seem to know what they're doing out there, but what they were doing was didn't have enough selling. Okay, you didn't hold yourself when you got hit enough. You just moved into the next move there, and they kept doing that sort of thing. So it wasn't as believable. Didn't seem like it was a competition. It seemed more like an exhibition. Ricochet took exception to it and said a lot of ridiculous things online. And now Will Ospreay has jumped into the mix, and he's doing the same thing, disrespecting a legend like Vader, using his moves to make fun of the moves, and then going online and talking more nonsense out there. Bottom line is this, folks. I hope and I pray that both Ospreay and Vader can find a way to do some business together and bury the hatchet and not allow this to continue to be what it seems, which is really, really real, okay? At this point, I'm afraid that Vader is going to find Ospreay and beat the living daylights out of him, okay? So Ospreay, seriously, buddy, make sure that you bury a hatchet with Vader. If you guys are going to do something within the purview of pro wrestling, I'm all for it. But Vader, even though he's an older guy, he's still a pretty big guy. I mean, he's close to 400 pounds. Most of that's pretty solid still. And he will beat the daylights out of you, Ospreay. So smarten up, okay, kid? Smarten up. We transition into China. Oh, that's right. We're talking about China. The WWE held some auditions out there where they invited athletes from all over the country of China to come down, participate, and they wanted to find out if there was anyone that they could recruit for the WWE from China. Well, folks, they ended up finding someone, okay? When it was all said and done, they signed a guy by the name of Bin Wang. That's right, Bin Wang. He is the newest WWE signee. We're still not sure if he's going to wrestle or if he's going to be doing some mic work for the WWE. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out there. Nonetheless, that's a pretty cool thing there. You know, the first major superstar from China to be signed to a WWE contract officially. Now, I bring that up because there's been some speculation online that the deck was stacked. WWE set this up because they knew they wanted to sign Bin Wang, so they invited a bunch of people who didn't know how to wrestle, didn't really know what they were doing, had them come down, essentially embarrassed themselves, and then in the end they gave the contract to Bin Wang anyway. Bin Wang wasn't really the point of the tryouts to begin with. What WWE seemed to really be doing is making the big announcement of the fact that they have combined with a Chinese corporation to start distributing WWE content over there, which is pretty cool. The name of the corporation is PPTV. So they're going to be the main distributor of WWE programming in China. It's a huge deal, folks. China is a major, major market, and they have an insatiable appetite for pro wrestling, especially American-style pro wrestling. So this is a big deal. So this whole thing of signing a Chinese athlete, that's nice, but it seemed like it was just a little tool that they used because they really wanted to focus on the TV deal. Because, hey, with all due respect to Bin Wang, and I've seen some of his work, he's pretty good, but he's nowhere near the upper echelon of talent that is in China. Okay? There are so many solid wrestlers in China that Bin Wang is not really on their level, and they weren't even invited to the tryouts. So I don't know what's going on, and you know, I think about people like the Selfie King out of Middle Kingdom Wrestling, and you know, even Big Sam and some of these guys here. I don't understand the whole Bin Wang thing, but hey, it is what it is. We'll have to wait and see how this all shakes out. But people are starting to make some complaints out there because was it on the up and up? That is the major question here. And it's a good question. Let's be honest here, folks. Okay? So we'll have to wait and see how that goes there. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to get into the WWE recap. But first, as you know, folks, I've been singing the praises of Tavern Road Restaurant. That's right, Tavern Road over at 343 Congress Street in Boston. Chef Louis, let me tell you a funny story about him. I was flipping channels a couple weeks back, and I saw the CBS This Morning Sunday show. And who was on there cooking up some delicious meals and getting praised, but none other than Chef Louis from Tavern Road. Okay? This is a guy who is one of the most well-regarded and respected chefs in all of New England. You need to go down to Tavern Road and find out why, folks. I'm telling you, we're talking about excellent service. We're talking about beautiful ambiance. And more importantly, we're talking about delicious food. Okay? Check out www.tavernroad.com. That's www.tavernroad.com for more information. Enjoy. All right, folks, it is time for the WWE recap. As I stated, it's been an amazing week in pro wrestling and specifically in the WWE. Whew, I'll tell you what, where do I even begin? WWE, they had their Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It was just, first and foremost, my letter grade for the pay-per-view was a solid C-. It was not a very good pay-per-view. In fact, let me switch that. I'm going to give them a D+, okay? Let me get a little hard on them. Hey, look, and if you're listening to WWE, this is some tough love, Jack, okay? I'm going to give them a D+, because there were so many botches in nearly every single match that they had that I just didn't know what I was watching at times. It was just disgusting. And I was online. As you know, Duke Loves Wrestling. If you go on to Twitter, if you go on to Facebook, and you type in Duke Loves Wrestling, you can pull up my social media, and you can see. I interact with you fans out there from all over the world. And one of the common themes throughout the entire night was people pointing out that there were so many mistakes made in the matches. Okay? The performers just seemed completely distracted. I'm not going to mention every single match, but I'll say this much. The people that actually did halfway decent out there, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and The New Day, they were fantastic. As opposed to Enzo Amore and Big Cass and the Vaudevillains. They were terrible. And Enzo was way over, but he was botching moves. Big Cass, he was botching moves. The Vaudevillains botching moves. It was just terrible. Just terrible. Okay? Apollo Crews and Sheamus, that was one of the better matches of the night. Didn't surprise me. Apollo Crews took a complete beatdown from Sheamus, which is what I've been begging for weeks now, folks. And in the end, Apollo Crews found a way to squeak out, to steal, to win the match. That's what we need to see more of, because Apollo Crews is just, with the big smile and the flippy moves, he's a huge baby face. We need to see him in a position of adversity that he needs to overcome. And he certainly delivered on this night, so I appreciate that. Great job, Sheamus, the veteran. Once again, congratulations on that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Now, it's getting rave reviews, so great job, both guys there. The Money in the Bank ladder match, it was what it was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was in the middle. Dean Ambrose, that ridiculous guy, I can't stand Dean Ambrose. He ends up winning the match, which was just terrible, by the way. Unfortunately, Chris Jericho didn't pull it off. Ambrose, he gets a lot of love from the fans because he's out there, he's crazy, whatever. Let me tell you something about Dean Ambrose, folks. If you get a chance, go onto YouTube, okay? And type in Onita. Type in Onita. Here's a guy who's a legendary Japanese pro wrestler, okay? If you watch any entrance that Onita has had with the leather jacket and the shaggy hair and all that stuff, and then you compare it to Dean Ambrose, you'll see Dean Ambrose is a complete ripoff of Onita. Okay, Dean Ambrose, you couldn't be Onita if you wanted to, and I know you're trying real hard, but Onita did himself better than you're trying to do him, pal. You're stealing the gimmick, and you're doing a poor job of it. I'm just going to leave that out there and let the fans look for themselves to see what I'm talking about. United States champ Rusev, he retained his title. He beat Titus O'Neil. That match was what it was. It was just a slugfest, a couple guys beating each other up. Okay. AJ Styles defeated John Cena. Let me tell you something, folks. It was the match of the night. Cena's first match back, and he was certainly winded out there. Got to get his legs back. We could actually hear Cena calling spots. Whatever microphones the WWE is using lately, they really need to do something about it, because we could literally hear Cena calling the spots, telling AJ what to do out there in the ring. It was really interesting. Nonetheless, these guys had a solid match with each other. This is the reason why they're two of the best in the universe and two of the best of all time. Okay? AJ ends up winning the match because the club, Luke Gallows and my man, the Machine Gun Carl Anderson, they came down and interfered in the match, which, hey, a lot of people were upset about that. I'm not upset about that. I get it. You want to protect Cena, so AJ Styles doesn't win the match clean. That's okay with me. All I need is to see where we go from here. Do something that makes sense, please. I beg of you, WWE. Don't just bury AJ. That would be terrible. Okay. The other match of any kind of significance of the night, like I said, I'm not going to go over every match. Seth Rollins ends up defeating the WWE World Champion. Now imagine that, folks. Seth Rollins retained the title, okay? He never lost it in the past when he got that knee injury and he had to take literally a wrestling year off. Roman Reigns is the one who ended up winning the title in the end. Seth Rollins comes back, takes the title back. Everyone's excited. We're celebrating. That's right. Great job there, Seth Rollins. The music hits. Dean Ambrose comes out, and Dean Ambrose beats Seth Rollins. He cashes in his Money in the Bank contract, which he won earlier in the night during the Money in the Bank ladder match, and he defeats Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Folks, you know I can't stand Dean Ambrose. So the fact that he was able to rob Seth Rollins of the title I'm just beside myself over this, by the way. I'm just beside myself, folks. But what was interesting about this is that Roman Reigns is no longer the World Heavyweight Champion. And the next night on Raw, Roman Reigns comes out, Dean Ambrose comes out, Seth Rollins comes out. They carry on with each other, trying to determine who's going to be the number one contender for the title. At the end of the night, Rollins and Reigns had another match with each other, which ended in a double countout. So it was determined that both Rollins and Reigns will battle Dean Ambrose at the next pay-per-view in a triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Plenty of speculation started online regarding how and why the WWE World Heavyweight Championship was taken off of Roman Reigns, who I really couldn't stand either, by the way. You all know that, folks. We didn't have to wait long to find out, as it was announced late Tuesday, early Wednesday, that Roman Reigns has been suspended for violating the WWE wellness policy. That's right, folks. 30 days suspension. Now, they haven't pointed out what it was, but this is his first infraction. My guess is he probably took some kind of performance-enhancing drug, steroids, HGH, whatever you want to call it. I have noticed his body starting to change. He's really cutting up a little bit. He's looking more defined. That's not to say he couldn't do that on his own, but please bear in mind that Roman Reigns he comes from Samoan lineage. It is very difficult for the Samoans to have a body that is extremely muscular and what have you without a lot of time in the gym or some enhancements, folks. because naturally they just are not built like that. So the fact that Roman Reigns looks the way that he does, hey, it wouldn't surprise me if this is the case, okay? Roman Reigns is in some big trouble right now, and it will be interesting to see how the WWE proceeds with how they push him going forward. Is that the end for Roman Reigns and he has to start back at the back of the line from now on? Or will all be forgiven because this was his first time making a mistake like that, and Roman Reigns will pick up where he left off in the not-too-distant future? We'll have to wait and see how that shakes out, folks, but I'm telling you right now, it was shocking to find out that Roman Reigns was suspended by the WWE. And, hey, it's a one mistake. Hopefully he never makes it again. We're not going to put a scarlet letter on the guy for it. But it was a big mistake and definitely a lesson learned. That's right. Overall, the WWE, I'll tell you, there's a lot of uncertainty, and it seems like they're holding back on a lot of things, waiting for the brand split. So they announced that it's officially going to happen, the draft for the brand split, on July 17th. So it's coming up, folks. Okay? This is where they're going to take Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and essentially separate them once again, and they'll each have separate rosters. So there will be competitors that will only wrestle on Raw and competitors that only wrestle on SmackDown. It's going to be something interesting to see how they do this. I can't wait, personally. I'm sure you can't either. By the way, this past Monday on Raw, Sasha Banks finally made her return, okay? And she gave the champion Charlotte the business. She put hands on her, put her in the bank statement. It was just, I don't know what WWE's been thinking, what they've been doing, but it's been too long. It was great to see Sasha Banks. She didn't get the type of pop that we were hoping for, but this is because folks just really haven't seen a lot of her lately. So, hey, it's time to get Sasha back in there. We want Sasha, and it's time to put that belt on her because she really deserves it. That's right. In NXT news, as you know, NXT is the third brand within the WWE, third to Raw and SmackDown. And NXT, you know, they do their developmental stuff there. Shinsuke Nakamura has officially challenged Finn Balor, which, folks, I'm over the moon about this. As you know, both Shinsuke Nakamura and Finn Balor, they come from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, these guys have been lighting it up over in the land of the rising sun for many years. They were two of the best wrestlers in the universe. Now they're finally going to get a chance to lock horns in a WWE ring, although it's going to be NXT. It's going to be something that I can't put into words. It could be one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time, and I'm really hoping that they are allowed a chance to do that. I don't see how they're not, because let me tell you something. Shinsuke Nakamura hasn't had a bad match yet since he's been in the WWE. I'm serious, folks. He had a match with Buddy Murphy from the Blake and Murphy tag team that was just fantastic. I mean, it was a really, really good match. And it showed, it was a short match, but it was worth every single minute of it. I'm telling you. And it really showcased Shinsuke's moves and what have you. He just looked great. The fans love the guy. His charisma jumps out through the television screen. Shinsuke Nakamura is the man. Okay? I can't wait to see him take on Finn Balor to show everybody, not only the WWE roster, but all over the world, this is what real wrestling is all about. Okay? This is what real wrestling is all about, folks. So stay tuned on that. It's going to be fantastic. Nia Jax, she had a great match this week. I want to give her a special shout out. She looked very good in there against Liv Morgan. You only live once. What's up, Liv Morgan? We love you too. I give Nia Jax a lot of credit. She is very new to the business. She's still learning her ropes. She is a lot bigger than the rest of the roster, which actually works to her advantage because she stands out. I mean, first of all, she's a model, so she's much taller than they are. She's a plus-size girl, so she's a little bigger than they are as well. But because of that, it is easy to put her in a David versus Goliath situation. It literally works to her advantage. The issue that I've always had with her is that she's too nice. You could tell she's just a sweet human being. Because of that, it shows on her face when she's wrestling. She doesn't look devious. She just looks like a lady pretending. Well, finally, in this match against Liv Morgan, she actually looked devious. She actually looked like she wasn't pretending. She actually looked like she wanted to hurt her opponent. She wanted to inflict damage on her opponent. She looked great. I'm telling you. She reminded me a little bit of Bull Nakano, which is somebody that I feel Nia Jax really needs to study in order to get her chops up. Okay? Hey, you have to sell what you're doing with not only your moves, but your face. You have to look devious when you hit somebody. You have to look like you just gave them everything. The impact was so strong. The finish of the match saw a powerbomb that Nia Jax gave Liv Morgan, which the powerbomb needs some work. It would be cool to see Nia do something like the old Last Ride powerbomb that The Undertaker used to do, where he would pick you up and then grab you by your side and lift you up just a little higher before driving you down. What's nice about that is that it's easier to do a nice flat pancake landing as far as whoever's receiving the move, and it looks devastating. It looks absolutely devastating when it's delivered, especially by somebody taller than their opponent, which is exactly what Nia Jax is. So, Nia, I'm sure you're listening. Hey, look, I'm not going to let up on you because I have some high expectations from you. I know your family, where they come from here, they're great. And you have the potential to be great in this business as well. You have to continue to improve and be that mean, nasty heel. You got to dig down deep for it, please, but do it because it's going to work. You're going to make a lot of money, and you're going to entertain all of us by doing so. Appreciate that. That's right. We're going to wrap things up in a moment, folks. But first, do you remember hanging out in the barbershop? You're sitting back and you're just talking, discussing things that are going on in the world, and it's really a no-holds-barred situation. Or even better, when you're at the family cookout, and you're laughing, you're crying, you're dancing, anything and everything is on the table. It's a no-holds-barred situation. You're talking sports, politics, life in general, relationships, you name it. Well, folks, if you want to have that feeling like you did at the barbershop or even at the family barbecue, you really need to check out Remember to Hit Record. That's right. We're talking about Miss Lady, Old Man Wade, and Lavelle. Head over to www.remembertohitrecord.podbean.com. That's www.remembertohitrecord.podbean.com. You will love it. As always, folks, we appreciate all of your support. We continue to grow and grow and grow. It's funny, last week's episode, we averaged 22 hits worldwide per hour. And that continued on for the entire week. So kudos to you. Like I said, we have our fans over in the United Kingdom, China, Japan, Thailand, different parts of Africa, United States, South America. Duke Loves Wrestling is internationally loved and known, my friends, and the Rundown podcast is internationally loved and listened to. So keep it up. You can check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, Medium.com, YouTube, SoundCloud. You can check us out on Blogger. All of these different sites, or just go straight to Google, type in Duke Loves Wrestling. You'll pull up all of my information. You can get in touch with me. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. If you have any suggestions on topics that we need to cover on the Rundown. If you have any suggestions on guests that you would love to hear me interview on the Rundown. If you have any suggestions on wrestling promotions around the world and you want to get my expert analysis on what's going on out there, please don't hesitate. reach out. Folks, we are here to help others. That's all I'm here for. Hopefully that's all you're here for. So please, do something nice for someone, not just yourself. Seriously, okay? And if you get a chance, don't forget, my friends out there, you know I love to continue to talk about food, folks. Head over to Barnyard Cheese. That's over there at 149 Avenue C in New York City's East Village. www.barnyardcheese.com, www.barnyardcheese.com. Get the meatball sandwich or check out their award-winning breakfast sandwich. You'll love it. I'm telling you right now. And that's it for now, folks. We'll catch you up with you next week. This is the Duke saying bye-bye, everybody.